Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Film Seizure. I am your co-host, Jason Oliver, and with me, as always, are Jeff Arbuckle.
Hi.
Say good day.
Good day, mate.
Chuck Moore.
Roy.
We are embarking on our first week of our tour of Australia. We are spending an entire 5 weeks in Australia, and I don't know how much we can handle. It's like our holiday. We're going on a holiday.
Yeah.
6-week holiday almost.
Well, it begins with something of a nightmare.
Yeah. We have unleashed for week 1 the 1971 Australian classic Wake in Fright.
Ooh.
And this was a second time watch for me. It was a first time watch for Chuck and Jeff.
It sure was.
Yeah.
And it is kind of bonkers.
I did not know what to expect from this movie, and I still somewhat don't know what I watched.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you're in for something when Chuck, about 3/4 of the way through, turns to you, Jason, and says, "This one is the best of the 5?" And I was like, I'm glad somebody is saying it.
I want to be clear about something, because this is right up my alley in a lot of ways. Like exploitation, bonkers, madness. But I really didn't know what to expect. So it was kind of like coming at me, like, is this really what this movie is about? This is really what this movie is about. That's what this movie is about.
It is the movie.
The movie is as persistent as the people are in it trying to get you to drink a beer.
Yes.
And I think that's the whole idea, probably, of that running theme, is like it just keeps offering you boom, 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 over and over.
It is relentless.
Yeah.
And I don't think most people. I didn't know what this movie was about when I saw it. I was expecting something more traditionally horror, right? And it's not at all. I mean, it's a horror movie, but not really.
I don't even think it. I wouldn't even classify it as horror.
I wouldn't either. I would classify it as quite honestly, I'd just classify it as a drama, an adult drama.
Yeah.
It could be a psychological drama. I've seen that be used.
The reason I picked this is because it's one of the first films in the so-called Australian New Wave, right? So it really was very early in that series of, just these Australian produced movies that are set in Australia, that are very just present in that time and place, right? And that got a kind of a foothold outside of Australia. And a lot of people that saw this movie, it made them terrified of Australia, right?
Which is weird.
Right.
I mean, you just have to show me the picture of like a spider from there, and I'm like, not ever going there.
But this movie, like, I think you're going to say this, right? Like, this movie isn't showing you the natural terrors of Australia. No. It's like the people scare you.
Right. And it was very divisive within Australia itself for that. In fact, there was a moment in the movie when in the premiere in Australia, where someone stood up and pointed at the screen and said, "That's not us." And then Jack Thompson, who's in the movie, said, "Sit down, mate.
Really?
It is us." Yeah. So it was divisive from the start, right?
It's like city versus urban, or
but I think there's definitely classism, right? Like the movie. This is a movie about classism,
right?
It's a movie about a school teacher who teaches in a small little Australian outback town.
Putting it small is like,
that's friendly to what we see. It's two buildings.
It's a one classroom schoolhouse with probably maybe 20 students, if that, 15 maybe,
of varying ages.
Yeah, that's your classic frontier schoolhouse, right?
Yeah.
You teach every age. You teach every grade. But he's mandated to have his teacher's license. He has to pay a bond of $1,000.
Yep.
And he's placed wherever they put him, and he cannot get his $1,000 bond back unless he fulfills his contract.
He's essentially over the fuck barrel.
Yeah. So he calls himself a slave.
Yeah.
And wherever, and obviously, the government needs They need schools everywhere, and nobody's volunteering to go to
Latunda,
Yeah.
or whatever it's called.
right. But they'll pay for your education if you agree to go wherever the fuck they tell you to go.
Yeah.
Right? For a certain period of time. It's not that different from military service, right?
Fair.
So he's stuck in this little town. He's there the entire year other than a 6-week vacation around Christmas time. And he feels like he's above it. Like, this is not what I want to do with my life. This is not where I want to be. These people are, second-class citizens in a lot of ways, right? He rolls his eyes at everyone that lives in these small towns, these country bumpkins.
Right.
He wants to move back to Sydney, or he wants to get out altogether and go to England.
Yeah.
Right? So the setup for this is it's the last day of school before the break, and he's going to take a train to, where is it?
Yonda? Yabba?
Yabba. Yeah. The Yabba. And he's going to catch a flight out of there, which is, it's like basically the closest city he's near is Yabba. And he's going to take a flight from there to Sydney and spend a 6-week break, really kind of like figuring out what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Because he
claims he has a girlfriend, which I'm not sure that they really are. I mean,
maybe
he carries
not.
a picture of a girl with a surfboard. He might have clipped that out of a magazine. For all
There's
we know.
something I'll mention later that I kind of picked up on.
Okay.
I think, but yeah, you do think he's got someone waiting for him, but just like military service, though, right? He's not married. They don't have kids. I mean, she could have Jeaned him, whatever, right? But instead of flying out of the Yabba, he ends up stuck for reasons that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
And he kind of gets caught up in this cycle of entrapment.
It
Right?
almost feels like the movie U-Turn in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I see
The
where, I see
movie
where you're
doesn't
coming
feel
there.
like that.
I see where you're coming there, but really, I think what it's trying to say is that nobody is that far away from being stuck, just like anybody else in this town.
Right.
Right? Everybody's just one misfortune away from destitution.
Right.
Right? You're not so great, guy.
Yeah.
And he realizes that. And he realizes that to the point of despair, that, this, his way he views the world was incorrect. Because there was a lot of people who probably don't want to be where they are. They're stuck in a situation, but they're all making the best of it.
Right. It's weird, like, the way the character, like the sheriff or the ranger, is he the sheriff? The guy
He's the cop of the town. Yeah,
The
whatever.
cop of the
Constable.
Yeah,
like, he's very overbearing. The flame on his lighter like shoots up like 3 feet. Like, everything about him is almost too big. But I'm wondering if that's projection now at this point that I've thought about the movie. Like, this guy's really just being nice to the teacher from the other town, right?
he is.
But the way the teacher perceives him may be like putting him on a different, like, I don't know.
Well, he's being. That is one thing about this movie, is that at every turn you expect it to turn into, like, the bullies bully you, or the cop is going to harass you,
Right.
or the townsfolk are gonna run you out of town, or make fun of you, right? And it doesn't really happen.
Yeah, I think it's his perception
There's
that makes
this
these people look
edge
this
to
way.
the whole movie that where you feel like it's gonna go really bad, but yes, because he is unwilling to be helped, he creates this situation for himself.
Right.
Yes, and he I think out of fear, he tries to fit in to the point where he becomes someone that he's not.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, he realizes, these people are broken, but I'm broken too. Right?
I think those people are liberated and he's not.
In a way, yes. But you can't say that Donald Pleasance isn't living a self-destructive life in this movie.
No, he won't.
Right?
We haven't even got to him yet. But yeah.
I have something to say about him when we get to the way we see him at the end versus how we've seen him the entirety of the rest of the thing.
That's why I think a lot of it is projection.
It could very well
It could be. It could be, absolutely, because, or at the very least, it's something where these people do have normal lives. He's only ever seeing them
when they're letting loose.
When they're letting loose,
Right.
or in a holiday scenario where
Right.
they are not expected to go back to work. Now, Doc Titan, Donald Pleasance, is he's a character, all right.
Oh my God.
And the way he lives is not great, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It may just be that this is how he chooses to live.
But he's not. But I agree, and I think that the movie sets up this expectation that there's danger
Right.
where there really isn't. He's only really a danger to himself.
Yeah, he makes the danger.
Right. And it's because of
I am the danger.
and it's because of his perception, right, of these people. It's I think it feeds into his anxieties and heightens them and heightens his fear, right? When in reality, he could have just, the one guy who was buying him beers and playing snooker with him could have offered to lend him money to get him to see, and he turned him down.
Yeah.
Right. So in a way too, he's very strong-willed, right? He's unwilling to accept help from people who
he seems are beneath them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But back to the cop though. The cop was nice enough. He was buying him a couple rounds, but
Couple. It was like 12.
well, they went back and forth.
Oh,
after
okay.
that. But really, he's like the stranger in town. This is his job,
Mm-hmm.
is to figure out who the faces are that he doesn't know, and he's asking him questions, and
Right.
he even like gives him the wrong name of the school teacher that he replaced.
Yeah.
Mm.
To see if he was indeed who he said he was.
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
So he's trying to read him. He's trying to make
Yeah.
sure that he's not going to be a problem, right? But he's also being very like jovial and cheerful.
If you're going to be here, might as well take part in what we do, or
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
But Donald Pleasance says something that I think is sort of the whole crux of the movie, and it's when he first meets Donald Pleasance, our main character.
Doc Titan. Or, well, yeah,
John Grant.
John Grant. Or, yeah.
He says, and I have to paraphrase it because I don't remember it exactly, but he says, discontent is a luxury of the well-to-do.
Yeah.
Right. He says that the Little Devils, was it the Little Devils
Love their hell. Or
love
something like
hell
that.
or
Yeah.
something like that. And basically saying, yeah, all those people, because one of the places that he's at, where he's with the, where he's with that
The cop
constable,
takes him to get a steak.
right?
at this
And
place.
and in that place is like this massive betting room where they're just throwing coins up and betting on how they land.
Yeah, heads or tails, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's one head, one tails, no result.
All bets are off.
Yeah. Or at least it pushes or whatever. Yeah. So then, so it's like it's rabid in there. And there's little things about this town too that is very bizarre. Like like there's a memorial thing that happens, I'm assuming every night. And everybody stops. They put down their drinks. They stop gambling. Everything, and they make their reverence, be known or whatever. And then everything picks back up. Like it's almost. Chuck, you said it was like a cult.
It was someone who reviewed the movie when it came out said that he thought that was the scariest part of the whole movie.
It is.
Because if you're not used to that, you don't know what you're in.
Right.
And that's why I think what I'm beginning to appreciate about this movie more, like the farther I am away from it, is what is perfectly normal to these people in, like, I don't know, is innocuous the right word, or benign to these people, can be very scary to a stranger. And the way that it's filmed, again, I think is like from the perception of Grant. The way he sees it is like, this is weird.
Right.
this is really weird, but to these people, they're just honoring fallen heroes. But we don't know that. Like, we're in Grant's shoes, like, the whole time, right? Like, we don't know what these people are like, so we feel that weirdness and kind of horror.
Or are we about to
too.
see them, like, hunt him or something?
Right,
You know?
right. And the outback, the people, like, this is all very foreign. There's a kind of a xenophobia that starts to creep in as you watch the movie, right? And that's, I think, why some Australians were so against the movie, is because of that perception.
Which is weird, because it doesn't say anything bad about them.
No, well, exactly right. They're too close to it, to themselves, that they can't see how they can be perceived.
Well,
right.
Here's
and it's
the
not
thing.
necessarily a bad thing. They are who they are, but they were looking at themselves, and they didn't really like what they saw in the mirror.
They were used to looking at a mirror that had smudges all over it, things that they would cover up themselves. It would be like saying, it would be like, I don't know, like a grandparent or something, saying something that is, kind of part of that whole Civil War revisionist history, right? But then it's like, no, Grandma, you're wrong. And you watch a documentary that's actually more accurate, and she's might kind of, I don't know, might what's the word? Kind of have a revulsion to it, and it's like, no, you may not like what you see, but that is what it is. And when you take the 50,000 foot level view of it, it's weird. Yeah. It's weird that you think these things, or it's weird that you do these things.
Right.
And,
right.
And the other concept is, another kind of similar modern day example is, we don't want to think of ourselves as Americans as potentially doing bad things in other parts of the world. The truth is we kind of are.
Right.
At least in other points of views, we are, so it's like, we might, we see that happen all the time. Look at reviews of movies that treat certain points of view in a certain light, and you're going to have a lot of backlash. And that's exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
But the truth is like, you got to take the rose colored glasses off, or the blinders off, or at least step back and imagine what this weirdo bar with these rabid drunk, gamblers who suddenly stop to pay reverence to the dead. That's weird, man. And maybe it doesn't happen in your town. Maybe it doesn't happen at your bar, but it probably did there, or could out in the middle of nowhere.
Or when you're in it, it's just fun.
Right. Exactly.
I think that's more the point of it. Like, if you're the one doing the gambling, and like, you're just involved.
You're involved. Right. But just for those people who complain that, this not us, or that's not my perception of our people.
Right.
Well, it could be true. And it could also be true that it's not your perception of your people, but that doesn't necessarily make it accurate.
Yeah. And I think the reason why I said that this is arguably the greatest movie of the month is because I think this is the movie that has the most to say. And it's the movie that is probably the best representation of certain parts of Australia, right?
Yeah.
The rest of the movies we're going to watch are mostly fun, more a little bit exploitative of perceptions of Australia that started because of this movie.
Oh, I don't think so next week, but we'll talk about that.
You're right. Not as much. But in varying degrees, yes.
Right.
Especially when we get to the week 3, which I believe is Road Games.
Yeah.
That plays so much into Americans' fears of Australia.
Right.
Right? But it all kind of started with this movie. So that's why I was like, this is the one we got to start with.
Yeah. Well, just think, 15 years later, after this movie, our perception of Australia is that everybody wears snake skin vest and wrestle alligators. Yeah. So I guess they ended up winning.
Right.
Yeah. They carry big knives as if to say, I got a big dick.
But what's funny is this movie actually didn't really
care about the size of my dick like you do. I'm sorry.
This movie really wasn't widely seen though either, which is weird because the negatives were lost. It didn't really get much distribution. I think it's kind of like bootleg copies of this movie.
It was big in France,
UK, though. and it did become a cult film almost right away. But a lot of that was because it was kind of like if somebody had a copy of it, it was like treasure, you know?
Right.
And then eventually the negatives were found by one of the producers, or maybe it was a cinematographer, and it got a proper restoration and re-release wide, and it got a second showing at Cannes, which almost never happens. And Martin Scorsese was a big champion of it around that time because he saw it when it first played at Cannes, and it had like haunted him ever since.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So that's kind of where I was coming from with why I chose this movie to kick off the month, and why I kind of gave it that hyperbole of perhaps the best that we're going to watch.
Fair.
So what happens to sort of spiral this whole situation?
So you mentioned the $1,000 bond.
Right.
And Grant is watching these folks play their penny flipping gambling game.
Two Up is what it's called.
Two Up?
Two Up.
He learns the rules, and he sits down with Donald Pleasance with a steak meal. And
with some shitty eggs.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And Donald Pleasance isn't playing, but he's been tracking the results all night. And he tells the person that drops the food off for Grant, like, hey, it's 2-1 heads. I think he says all night.
Yeah.
Like 2-1 heads.
Yep.
So Grant goes over and plays the game, and he wins like nearly $400, $500.
Yeah.
And he goes back to his room. He's exalted. It's kind of fun. Like
when he runs out with his money, he like jumps up and kicks his heels.
He does the heel kick.
Yeah.
It's like,
and it says woohoo.
Yeah. Mario.
Yabba dabba do.
Yeah. Or Yabba dabba do, as Jeff said.
They were
in
Yabba.
Yabba.
The Yabba.
And he goes into his room, and he kind of gets angry when he sees his maths books.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, I don't want this job anymore.
Yes, and he's like, one more spin.
He's desperate to get out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. One more. Because he said he's a slave, like we talked about.
And he could basically buy his bond back.
Yes.
He gets $1,000.
He can walk away from teaching, do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
But he goes back, and he wants to bet tails. But unfortunately, whoever throws has to bet heads. He throws heads at first, but with a meek toss. And they're like, no. You got to get this above your shoulders.
Above your head.
Above your head, whatever.
Right, because he almost, it seems like he almost was trying to outsmart the game by
it's
just...
like the people who play Yahtzee and they put the dice down and you're like, you didn't roll that.
or they do the... Or they, what they do is...
They do just a little like... And they
set it down.
Yeah, they set it
Right. They find the ones they want on the bottom side, then they grip it and pretend to, and then they just then, like, turn it over. Yeah, and it's like,
that's not buying it.
That's why we use the cup.
Yeah, exactly.
But he loses.
Yeah.
And he loses all his money. And this is really like the start of a spiral, right? He has no money.
He doesn't lose all of his money at that point. He loses
half of it.
He loses everything he had won.
Yeah.
Right? And now he's back to where he was, like down $20 or whatever. But then it's like he bets again, and it's tilt, right?
Yeah.
And what you see again after the next bet he makes, the next shot you see is he's laid out in his bed naked,
ass up,
and he doesn't really remember even what happened.
Right. And we know, I don't know if we talked about this, his flight was supposed to go out this morning.
Right.
And he's overslept.
Yeah, he missed it.
He missed his flight.
But he not only missed that, but he also missed being able to go and get a job because now he's broke, so he needs to get some sort of employment to make a few bucks to get out.
But as Jason said, the people in the labor department do not work.
No.
It's Saturday. Yeah. They're working in the labor department. So yeah, he's kind of screwed for a couple days. And he has no place to live. And he has literally no money. He has $1. He has $1 because he got $1 back on his deposit from his room.
Yep. That lady was weird, but also I want to know more about her. Because all she does is
She's
just sit there.
essentially dripping water on her in front
Because
of the
it's so
fan.
fucking hot.
Yeah.
By the way, this is Christmas time in Australia, so it's super hot.
Yeah.
And so she like sits in front of a fan. She drips water on herself. She and she lazily, or well, no, not lazily, disaffected, explains that he has to pay ahead. She doesn't give him change because there's a $1 deposit on the key that he'll get back when it's over. So when he leaves, thinking I've got nothing, she calls him back and it's like, "Here's your $1, mister."
Here's your $1.
So he goes back to the bar, and he ends up meeting a guy who wants to buy him a drink.
Another nice guy who's like domineering.
Yes,
Very domineering.
And we should mention that when he was he was drinking beers with the cop the night before. We're talking about 12-ounce pours of beer that the cop is drinking in 1 or 2 gulps.
Well, yeah, he's saying, "Do you want another beer?"
And he's already got a full beer.
And he pounds it and then goes and gets 2 more.
Right.
It's like, drink up. So the entire movie, like the drinking culture, is insane.
Right.
Yes, and it is the worst insult in the world to not accept a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the guy even is it the guy who, when he says that he doesn't, or like when the guy says, "I'll buy you a beer" in the place, and he says, "No thanks," and the guy's like, and he's like, "No thanks, I don't have any money." He's like, "Hey, asshole, I said I'll buy you a beer."
Right.
Yes.
Is that the same guy, or does he meet the nicer guy right
No,
after
that's
that?
the same guy.
That is the
That's
same guy. Okay.
That's the guy he plays snooker with.
Okay.
Yeah, same dude.
Same guy. But the perception is, the game is, it's I'll buy you a beer, but you're expected to return the favor, right? So he doesn't want to get caught up in it because it's like he can't afford it. He's trying to tell that guy that, but he gets offended. Is like, "I just said I'd buy you a beer. What's the problem?"
Yeah, right. He thinks he's playing by the constable's rules.
Right.
Yeah.
So he kind of tells him his whole story, and guy kind of takes pity on him, and they takes him home for dinner to meet his daughter, who
Jessica?
Jeanette.
who
I was way closer this time.
she is like as aloof as you can get as a person. Like she's not happy with her life, right?
But it's still giving off that culty vibe.
a little bit. Well, yeah, because she doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
And you don't know right away what her relationship is.
Husband, wife,
wife, daughter. Yeah. It's not really immediately clear. Yeah.
Yeah, it turns out that she is the daughter.
And she just kind of comes in silently and sits down. It's
and
very,
just judges him.
Yeah, it's just very unsettling.
But the thing is that she's doing to him what he's been doing to this town. It's, she is above this town, conceivably.
I almost feel like she's just broken by it.
Well,
she's
it could be.
sick of her father. She's sick of being trapped. She's kind of like him.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Like Grant.
Oh. And so that, so therefore she's kind of viewing the world through that purview, kind of like how he's viewing his world through his purview. Yeah.
Also, we should mention that when, what's his name again? John and the cop were drinking the night before, he asked, if there was a lot of crime in the Yaba, and he said, no, we do get a few suicides though. I think it's probably the heat. And John says, well, that's one way out, right?
Yeah.
It's a little foreshadowing there of what we might see.
I'm just putting that together. Sorry.
But it is. And he's telling a joke, but he's also telling it in a very patronizing way.
Yeah.
Like he tells a few jokes that are just slight digs on the community.
Yeah.
It's like he expects everybody to feel the way he does about things.
Right.
But yet
it's like, why would you want to be, how could you conceivably be happy here? Right. In his mind, right? Super condescending.
But everybody there, when they meet him, like, don't you love it?
Yeah.
Don't you love it? And that is culty too. Which is funny. Like, it's all feeding this false idea of what's happening in the town.
Well, it is funny because there is nothing special about the town. It's just bigger than where he came from.
Right.
They've got an airport. Big
but it's
whoop.
smaller than where he wants to go. Too,
Exactly.
which is-
So it's like, yeah, because they probably think of the city life as being untenable to them. It's like I can't live that kind of.
And I think most of
you
these
know.
people are legitimately happy with where they are. They've accepted. There are countless people in this world that accept where they're at.
Absolutely.
Right? Like,
and they're content.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like where I live.
But the way it's
I
delivered,
wouldn't have done it
it's
for a
so
decade.
Smartly done. The more I think about it, because all of these things seem cult-like,
Right.
Yeah.
in a way. So I feel like this movie is building that direction
Right.
the whole time.
When in reality, it's contentment, it's community. Right?
Yes. Yes.
It is-
It's wild how they use that against you, now that
Yeah.
I think about it. So when I said the things I said 3/4 through the movie, like, if this is the best, this is a really good example of a movie. I mean, I would suggest this with all movies, but you need to finish this movie before you judge it.
Yeah.
You 100% need to
Well,
finish
there
it
could
before
be-
you put your considerations on it.
Sure. I mean, I will say that there is one thing which we'll talk about, I'm sure, but there is something about this movie that's going to make or break it, whether or not you can finish it.
Okay.
Yes.
Now,
Oh, yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Right.
For sure.
But
Yeah.
now I will say though that I said this, I don't know, 27 times during the movie that this is all a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because to me it would be a night, like being trapped and not feeling able to do what I want to, like, first of all, the room with all the gambling, that's right out.
I'd be okay with it if I was involved.
No, but I can't be. I couldn't be
Oh, yeah,
in
okay.
the thing. Like,
Okay.
I don't mind playing. I'd play, but I wouldn't want to be trapped in a room with 100.
It's made to look claustrophobic.
It is,
though.
yeah.
Yeah.
And but then just feeling like it's like I just want to go back to my room. I just want to, like, I don't care. Tomorrow I'm out of here.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Like, so you bring up a good point. He doesn't have this recourse of going back to his room anymore, because once he checks out of the hotel, he's missed his flight. He can't get
sure.
a job. He has nowhere to go.
Well, no, but I'm saying like
I know
like
what
the
you-
night before, I would be like, I just want to go back and go to sleep
Well,
and
he
get
did.
up and
He
go
did
to
do that.
right. But I want to, like, before I get trapped with somebody that I don't know what they're going to do, right? Like, or how.
I mean, he made a choice. I get
Well,
what
sure.
you're saying, but he made a choice. This was
Right.
his choice to do these things. So you might not make that choice, but
Sure.
he certainly did.
Right.
Right?
No,
So-
that's fair. But I mean, like, but that's where I'm coming from, where it's like, man, no, I'm not going to make these choices that he made.
Well, yeah,
It's
I
like,
mean,
I'm
if
just
Jeff
gonna-
was in this movie, it would have ended a lot sooner.
It would have ended 5 minutes in. I'd have been like, it's my lot in life. I got to teach this room full of, different age children in this 2-building town. I'm fine.
He's also kind of like you can see he's getting pulled into the cycle, right? Because he's had his drink. I don't know how many beers at this point, because he can't really get away.
More than I have.
He can't really get away from the sheriff guy
More than all of us
gracefully,
combined.
right?
Yeah.
So rather than like create any animosity there, he just is agreeable and he keeps drinking beer. So his will is lowered. His inhibitions have been lowered. He hasn't eaten, which is established, because he's like, I can't go to another bar. I gotta get something to eat. And the cop takes him to get the best steak in Yaba.
And all of it looked like garbage.
Yeah, it did. It did look like a big ribeye though.
Yeah, but it's a big piece of garbage.
The steak looked okay. The eggs looked very firm.
The eggs look like plastic.
But
They look like funny.
Donald
But Donald
Pleasant's
Pleasant's like, you're not gonna eat that? Yoink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, shit. The moment you see Donald Pleasance, you're like, oh no. I was like,
He's
oh,
kind of
no.
peak Donald Pleasance in this.
So, Donald Pleasance has a knack in every movie he's ever in to continuously grow crazier and crazier and crazier. And boy, does he do that in spades in this one.
His performance is actually really
It
good
is.
in this.
It's really good.
It's very good.
He is unhinged.
Like, he does more
It is.
acting with his eyes than I've done in my whole life in this.
It isn't. Yeah, there's some intense staring going on.
Yeah.
But again, he's like that guy who he seems just squirrely enough that is gonna.
He's not part of the town.
or not only that, but I mean, to lend to the uncomfortable nature of the movie,
which is you get used to the friendly cop, and now you meet a guy who's like, yeah, all these people are idiots, and it's like, uh-oh,
right?
Now it's something else is kind of going off,
and he gets kookier and kookier. He just feels unpredictable, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got the scene where he goes to get dinner with the guy who bought him a beer at the bar the next day, and two of his buddies come over, and they're big, hulking Australians that just seem like formidable.
Well, these are
intimidating presences.
Yeah,
like the kind of guys that would look at someone like him and bully him.
Yes, and have you guys ever worked at a job where multiple people, instead of calling you by your name, called you college boy?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. No one's ever called me that.
I have worked at a job like that, and I wasn't even in college.
Right.
But I worked at a job like that, and they just perceived me as being...
You're much smarter than them, Jeff.
They thought that I thought I was better than them because I didn't talk the way they did, or I didn't typically do that type of a job like they did. And that was their perception of me, and I never thought once that I was ever... It's like... I need these guys because I don't know what I'm doing half the time, but that's exactly these guys.
That's what our wiring and his wiring tells us to think.
They're not those guys.
But they're not those guys.
Well,
they accept him into their group.
They do, but there is the one moment where he says, "What's the matter with that guy? He'd rather talk to the girl than us.
Yeah, but
than drink a beer."
But he's not. They're not at any point in time going to make it like super uncomfortable.
Sure,
right?
Sure,
because they're still going to are all about having a good time.
Sure,
right? They get a little like awkward with Janine or whatever her name is, Jeanette. But then you kind of learn a little bit more about what's going on there, the dynamics.
Yeah.
Right?
Village Bicycle, right?
Right, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's kind of brilliant in how it uses your own xenophobia against you.
I agree.
But they do kind of prove themselves to be recklessly dangerous and a problem.
Well,
sure. I mean,
I don't know. Every single one of us in this room has done something dumb on a night like that.
Well, yeah,
and
but
reckless and stupid. It
we've never wrecked a bar.
But at that point in time, though, Jeff, he is a full participant.
That's true.
Them.
That is true.
Yes.
He
that
is not uncomfortable about any of it.
Right.
Until he passes out. But yeah. But
where's Plato?
It is like this whole thing.
Where'd he go?
This whole situation where you think he's in danger, you think these people are dangerous, you think the doctor is dangerous. When they go out on that hunt, which is disgusting in the movie, he is having the time of his life.
He is grinning like an idiot.
Yeah.
He's having a blast, and these guys are like patting him on the back. There's like no forcefulness. Because what you're saying, not what you're saying. I don't want to put words in your mouth. The way I'm hearing what you're saying is that these would be the guys that would force you to go out with them. They would force you to participate in this dumb thing that you don't want to do.
And they would.
But in reality, they're just like, "Come with us. Let's have fun."
And it is true though that at one point he does try to say like, I want to go. And they're
he
like,
makes a choice every time.
But he, when somebody pushes back on that, he's like, all right. And he just,
but it's just like any friend would be like, don't go home yet. Have another beer with me. Like, it's the way why I'm continually getting more impressed with this movie is that the way it's shot and presented is
makes him look like he's trapped as opposed to
but in
making
reality,
his own
these
choices.
are just people doing what they normally do with people and him just backing off of what he was originally going to do.
Yeah. No, and I think that's one thing that, with the multiple viewing, you would start to see maybe multiple angle, and you would even see what you find out later about Jeanette makes far more sense when she's like, we're going to go for a walk, and then she just lays down and
she offers herself.
Yeah. And it's like, that's just because that's what Dad's friends do.
Yeah.
And then he just throws up on her, basically.
He does. And then you realize that's maybe not drunk. Maybe he's kind of understanding the dynamic in a way, and he feels bad or something.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like he's just way too drunk.
I
think his conversation with Donald Pleasance the next day is pretty telling as well.
Sure.
Because Donald Pleasance knows exactly what John thinks of her now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do. It is important to note that he did have a conversation with her Jeanette about his girl in Sydney and how he'd take her to the UK. And she has this really kind of sad reaction to it. Like, I want to be the girl you take to the UK kind of thing. Like,
I want to be a girl who somebody takes.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe not Grant specifically, but I want that for me, damn it.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe the big blonde guy or the big,
those guys are never leaving that time.
No, but that doesn't mean that she's not.
They're a hunting accident away
from being buried in that town.
She wants someone to come through town and scoop her up. She has no illusions about these people that she lives near, in my opinion. But he does, like, maybe there's a little bit of that if he really does have this girl as Sydney, which we'll talk about. I'm not sure he does, because early on...
Yeah, I'm not sure he does either.
Early on, he has a memory of her where he's rubbing a beer on her chest.
Yeah.
Later on, it looks like she's performing CPR on him.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way it seemed to me, but I don't...
Well, when he's having all those weird flashes...
Yes, there's a lot of... it's kind of
he's ultimately coming to his breaking point.
Yeah.
Where he ends up making his last decision.
Yeah.
So it felt a little, like, unreliable to me at that moment, but we never see her.
We never really know.
You have no idea.
Right. What the situation is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that he probably doesn't have it, because never once he's stuck in town does he try to get word to somebody that he's stuck.
Right.
I think it's a fantasy of his, like Jeanette has a fantasy of being, swept off her feet. I think he has a fantasy of going someplace and finding me.
Yeah. He does at one point even say, "There's no one I can borrow money from."
Exactly. If he had a steady.
Right.
She'd get him home. Yeah. That would be the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he would contact her. But I think he's going out there in hopes of finding someone to take him away from his life and from his bond. And much like Jeanette is looking for someone to take her away from her bond. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he kind of gets his wish in this movie a little bit, just not the way he expected to.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why I think when he says what he says at the end, it's an interesting way to end the movie, because
it feels sincere to me.
It could be read in a lot of different ways.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, we gotta talk about it. The kangaroo hunts. Yeah, it's hard to watch, and it goes on for a long time, and in two separate incidents, and it's brutal.
Very. And I only watched half of it.
And I could kind of understand why Kotcheff, the director, defends it. Because I think in his eyes, he wanted to make it as horrific as possible to, again, like, shine a light on what he perceives, and what he rightfully thinks is a barbaric practice, right? And to kind of show people the reality of it would in turn hope that would make them be activist against it.
It's kind of like modernize the conversation. Like, people don't know how bad an illness is until it hits close to home.
Sure.
Right.
But it also, I think, can have like the opposite effect, and it does have the opposite effect for people. It's hard to watch.
It's glorifying a little.
It feels, in the context of it, it could be glorifying it a little bit. The fact that it was a legal hunt, but it was staged by the production, also kind of lends a little bit of gross ickiness to it.
100%.
But I get its intention. Was it truly successful in what it set out to do? I don't know.
Why use real kangaroos? Like, really, you don't have to.
You don't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you need a real one for the worst of it, which is the fight, the literal fist fight.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of that. Well, that was the fighting kangaroo, and it was staged.
Yeah, I mean, when he
kangaroo doesn't die.
No. I mean, when he does slit that quote unquote kangaroo's throat, it does not look alive.
That's like probably a dead one already, or it's
probably they probably just picked one up off the fucking ground.
Yeah.
That they shot. Yeah,
but it's hard to watch, but it is, I think, also symbolic of John's Descent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to bring this up. So yeah, in the production part, first of all, there is at the end of the movie, they did put the disclaimer saying that it didn't, it was real. But it seems like that's putting the barn door up after the horses got up. But anyway, after the kangaroos hopped away. But
They didn't hop away.
No, not this time. But yeah, so the hunt lasted several hours and gradually wore down the filmmakers. According to cinematographer Brian West, the hunters were getting really drunk and they started to miss. It was becoming an orgy of killing, and we, the crew, were getting sick of it. Kangaroos hopped about helplessly with gun wounds and trailing intestines. Producer George Willoughby fainted after seeing a kangaroo, quote, splattered in a particularly spectacular fashion. The crew orchestrated a power failure in order to end the hunt.
Jesus.
So basically what we see in the film happened when filming it.
Right.
Like these people were, probably just, they got a little too crazy and they were definitely gotten a little bit too many beers down, too many West Ends down.
Yeah. But again, there's I don't know when it was that the person at the premiere stood up and exclaimed that's not us, but it actually was.
I mean, the response is genuine if that happened. Like, I saw this happen.
Yeah.
It's 100% something somebody did.
The actors are there.
Like these people like existed. We watched them do and shot what they shot, right?
Yeah.
But there's varying degrees of what "that's not us" means, and that's part of like,
sure,
a newer.
It's a realization that. Sorry, go ahead, finish your.
No, I mean there's probably multiple ways to look at what I just said too, but people now take small buckets of people and apply it to everyone.
Sure,
right.
So when you're seeing a small fraction of the population doing a thing, it's not everybody doing.
Well,
that's where I thought you were going to go.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying about like, well, something may not happen in your community; it could be happening someplace else, and
it could be your damn brother, and you just don't know he's doing it too. Like,
true, but at the same time, it's still part of the whole organism.
Right.
Yeah.
But every time someone makes a statement, they're not throwing a blanket on shit either.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It says that shouldn't be what defines us.
Yes.
Essentially is what.
But it's okay to see. Yeah. It's okay to see warts and all.
Right.
Just don't let it define us.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it is a tough. There's no real need for it, and to me, in a certain way, it feels more exploitative than even the cannibal holocaust stuff, where
I agree,
the dead animals were actually used.
Right.
They killed them, but they ate that turtle. They did. I mean, you may have seen it get killed, but everybody ate that turtle.
Right.
So there is at least use, it's not a wasted death, or whatever.
But at the same time, I don't believe the intention was to exploit. I think the intention was to shock and, and to shine a light on a practice that the director felt was abhorrent.
Sure, and he was, and I can get behind that to a certain extent,
right?
Where you could say we need to show this guy basically becoming the person he thinks these other people are,
right? And
now, are there other ways that you could do that? Like Chuck, you said, did they have to use real?
But I think even beyond that, beyond the storytelling, I think it was a personal issue on the part of the director. He's a vegetarian. Yeah. I think he wanted to make that statement. That specific statement.
Yeah, and I mean and then people are gonna accept that in different ways.
Absolutely. I mean, it can it should be argued whether it was the right platform and the right way of going about that.
Sure, absolutely.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. Especially when you're a vegetarian and you don't want to harm life, why would you commission it?
Right. It's kind of like it's almost reverse thinking.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and some people do that where, I'll show you not getting what I want. I'm going to vote for the guy we don't want.
Right.
Or what? Accelerationism. And maybe it's a kind of the same mindset where it's like, I don't like this, so I'm going to do it to show you why it's bad.
Right.
Yeah. But Grant, during this whole thing, like you had mentioned, goes out and fights a kangaroo, basically hand-to-hand combat.
A baby. It's specifically a young kangaroo.
It is young. None of those kangaroos look that big, except for the one they mentioned was a 7-footer.
Right, which was the male with the biggest balls and had the big paw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he is completely primal, right? Like at this point,
he's also in his mind being egged on by he doesn't want to be made fun of now. So now he has to.
Fun.
I know, but like the thing, he's afraid that these guys
probably
are
projection again.
But it's his idea to go do it. He's like, I'm gonna.
Well, he even told them before the hunt, I won a silver medal in secondary school for shooting or whatever. But even
like after the one guy kills the kangaroo with the knife, he's like, I can do that too, and then they don't egg him. They egg him on, but they don't put any ideas into his head that he didn't already.
Right. No, they didn't. They didn't convince him. What did I say? This wasn't so much male toxic masculinity. It was toxic Australianism. That was a joke, but no, I mean this movie is aggressively Australian. But they leave, I don't understand half the dialogue in it.
Aggressively Australian.
But they leave there and they go to this bar.
They go back to the bar.
Oh my god, yeah. So the bar they started from. Because they had to get a searchlight, or they had to get a bulb for the searchlight or something.
Yeah.
Because
they also needed a beer.
Yeah, these guys don't drink water.
Well, Donna Pleasance at one point says water in the Yaba is for washing.
Yeah, which is the only time we see water is when he's washing or when the girl's cooling herself off.
Right.
So now I have to know he is staying at this really weird, whatever tin.
It's like
it's a cabin.
Yeah,
it's like a.
But the walls are like the corrugated, not corrugated.
Oh, he
beveled.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that he would die in there.
Sheet metal, basically.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he.
I think he'd bake in there. Yeah.
Well, they are baking in there. Like when Pleasance wakes up,
pretty much
sweating like a motherfucker.
Yeah. Cooking kangaroo.
But this scene is wild, right? Like they're. The two guys they're with are fighting, just beating the shit out of each other.
They're just
wrestling.
They're just wrestling and beating each other up.
Grant is drunk out of his mind, and
passes out.
Well, I'm saying the doctor's talking to him and calling him Socrates and shit. And
like, I don't agree with your hypothesis,
Socrates.
But
then when he falls over, he's like, "Where'd you go? Where did Socrates go?"
And the other guys are just wailing on each other. The one guy jumps up and grabs the fucking bar of the overhang and like kicks the guy down off the patio.
The Pleasance picks up a chair and he's going to swing it at one of the guys, but he misses him and just hits the door and smashes in like a window or a door.
Yeah. Oh, it tears out the screen. So when the guy comes out to yell at everybody, he just walks through the torn out screen. Yeah. That's great. That's a comedy beat.
But that whole thing is comedy, but then you have the two guys that are fighting, like one of them starts to bleed, and that's when it becomes serious.
Yeah.
Right? Like we've just been roughhousing, and to us, the viewer, it's like these guys are kicking the ever-loving shit out of each other.
They're nuts.
Yeah.
But it's not until one of them actually gets hurt that it becomes
right. It's all fun and games until Barnaby or whatever the fuck his name is gets hurt. I don't know why I call him Barnaby. That just would sound cool in Australian accent.
Barnaby.
Oh,
sorry.
God, no. Not the Bob Balaban song. Anyway, so yeah, and yeah.
Well, it's the next day.
Yeah.
Well, they go back. Him and Pleasance go back to Pleasance's shack. They have
they roughhouse a little bit.
A freak out, like kind of homoerotic, like almost kiss wrestle match.
Oh no, it's highly, I think
it's suggested
in every other form of this story, whether it's the original novel or the remake miniseries. It's a thing. It's happening.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm
It's
I'm
very
not
suggestive
surprised.
in this. I'm not surprised. That's why he's sleepy.
But then he wakes up the next day, and
Fucking Pleasance is covered in flies.
yeah,
And
so they're
vomit.
both covered in vomit.
Blood,
Yeah,
naked.
and he gets up and he's like,
I'm out.
I think I need to leave.
Yeah, it's time to
It's
go.
gone too far.
Which is
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting because then like now he is like legitimately like freaked out about whatever happened, right? And like Donald Pleasance is really cool. It's like, you need something to eat?
Yeah.
It's like, I'll cook breakfast he cooks breakfast for his dates before they leave.
The rest of this
you know?
movie gradually normalizes the people he'd been seeing.
The next
as-
time we see Donald Pleasance after this, there's one thing where he's legitimately not wanting him to hurt himself, and then we see him as a professional,
Yeah.
like as the doctor that he is.
Like he is woken up a bit, like the wake and fright or whatever. But he's woken up a bit, and the people that he's around are way more normal
Yeah,
than he perceived them to
Right.
be.
the
Right.
cop
And
is
the
different.
movie does
Yeah.
a good job of
Uh-huh.
re-explaining these people to you, because this dude has been through euphoria and hell at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
This is some Hellraiser shit that he's been through.
Yeah. And he's kind of woken up
Yeah.
Yeah.
now a little bit, and everyone
It's certainly expanded his horizons in many ways.
yeah.
And like when the cop sees him, he's like kind of seemingly legitimately concerned that he didn't leave when he thought he would.
right.
There's a tinge of like, what happened?
Yeah.
I thought you were supposed to go. What happened? And like some concern that he
I
didn't
think
go.
these characters were always like this.
Well, probably, but we're seeing it in that
Yeah.
different light now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, certainly lends credence to what you're saying.
Yeah. So he tries to leave. He basically starts just walking.
Oh, he
gets
does get a gun.
Oh, right.
Because the other two guys, the roughhousers,
They gifted him a
they
gun.
gifted him a gun for the hunt. And Donald Pleasant's like, don't leave the gun. You'll hurt their feelings, basically.
they gave this to you.
This is take
Yeah.
their gift. you
Right.
know, which does help him
and
because
how
he
it's
doesn't.
It's the only thing of value that he owns.
And it did help him to have food.
Right. And it gets him a ride.
It
It gets
sure
him a
does.
ride on the truck to the city. He thinks the city is Sydney.
He should have said that because you're way the fuck.
Uh-huh.
That'd be like me getting in the middle of Nevada, finding the guy and it's like, take me to the city. And then I end up in like, I don't know, like.
It's critical that this dude put him in the back of the truck. Otherwise, he might have been able to see he was
Right.
going the wrong way.
Right.
Yeah, because that was one thing. I almost said it. When they were driving in the truck down the road, the sun was setting behind them. They're going west, not
Yeah.
east.
Yep.
Right.
Sydney's way the fuck in the east.
Yep.
It's like,
Yeah.
you can't go any further east.
Trust your instincts. John.
Right.
So he ends up back in the Yaba.
The Yaba.
And it's like a Twilight Zone
Yeah,
moment.
it is almost like a Twilight Zone moment.
This is a little Twilight Zone-y.
Yeah.
And he, at that point, he just kind of breaks.
Yeah.
He goes back to he feels like, for whatever reason, Donald Pleasance is the orchestrator of his misery.
In many movies, he is.
But yeah, he starts to have those flashbacks
Uh-huh.
to Jeanette and then Donald Pleasance, the doctor.
We never talked about what Pleasance tells him about Jeanette, which this is all caving in on his psyche.
I mentioned she was the village bicycle, but
Right, but like he explicitly says, "Oh, you don't know much about Jeanette. Now, let me tell you." And it pisses him off because he thinks he's talking to somebody he actually could connect with.
right.
But it's no, dude. He's telling you it's like she's not the person you think she is.
Well, Pleasance is always like, yeah, you probably think she's a slut too because you're some kind of Puritan. But in reality, she's just like me. We know exactly what we want, and sex, food, beer, drink. It's all just the same.
They attribute that stuff to the dog earlier. Like she'll
Yeah.
try everything once,
Yeah.
right? The dog that's pregnant. It's constantly told to you, right? In this movie almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, he starts to have, he's piecing the visions together. He sees Jeanette, then Pleasance having sex with Jeanette. Then he sees his girlfriend, who we think is his girlfriend, but to me at the time looked like she was giving him CPR. And then Pleasance having sex with her.
Right.
And he goes in, he sits in the corner with the gun, and he has it trained on the door, right? Like, I'm gonna
Originally,
kill that
he's going to
man,
kill that guy
kill
who
that man
caused
when he
that problem.
walks in.
Yeah.
But then he puts the gun to his head.
Because now he remembers there's one way out of the Yaba.
Yep. Yeah, and he puts it in his mouth first, and he's like, ugh. Yeah. I'm not gonna
Right,
do that.
that is true. That gun will taste like ass.
But it saved his
life.
Probably a lot of oil checks with that gun.
Yes.
We never talked about the checking the oil.
You can.
Well, we'll get to it.
Well,
Let's get through it.
Yeah, that's only a little joke. I mean,
I know, but it's the little stuff that like you can't help but to laugh along with because it is jovial, and there are jovial things that even the bad antagonists do, or whatever.
Jeff's doing air quotes.
Yeah, if you didn't hear my knuckle crack when I did it so hard my knuckles cracked. But yeah.
But yeah, he sits in the corner. He has a gun trained on the door, and then he's like, "No, I'm gonna kill myself instead. Like, get out of Yaba." And he puts the gun on his head, and right as he does, Pleasance walks in.
He's like, "No!"
normal, and he just yells, "No!" And the shot, not obviously, but guns kick.
Yeah.
When you shoot him, he probably
especially hunting rifles,
Yeah.
they will. Yeah,
grazes his head and is in the hospital.
Right. And he wakes up for the last time in the movie. He wakes up again.
Right.
And this time he's in the hospital. His head is wrapped in the.
and the cop
is there.
and he's kind of doing him a solid.
Oh, he's doing a great solid. He's like, a huge solid. But it's also not necessarily the best way to go about it because this guy probably needs some mental health professional.
Not in the 70s.
Not in 1971.
But,
that's not happening.
But he basically says, I since you're probably feeling a little out of it, I went ahead and wrote down what happened, and all I need for you is to sign it.
Sign it and confirm it.
And essentially the story is that it was an accident. He dropped the gun on the butt and didn't realize it was loaded, and it went off and
it exploded.
And hit him. And he signs it.
He's released to Doc, who is dressed professionally now.
Yeah.
Well cleaned up.
Very lucid.
He's shaven, like he's trimmed his beard.
Yep.
He's wearing a 3-piece suit.
Yeah.
Like he really is a doctor.
Right. And now we should mention too, we never really talked about the fact that when he said he was a doctor, he used to practice in Sydney. He admitted to being an alcoholic. I lost my job.
That's not good for my practice.
It's not good for my practice being an
unreliable.
alcoholic. Yeah, I'm unreliable. But out here, they don't care, right? Yeah. Because I could just blend in. I'm just one of them, right? And people come to me for medical help, and I give it to them for free. And because of this relationship, I get all the things I need or want.
It turns out to be
a place to stay and beer in his fridge.
He's the opposite of Grant.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He's not asking for much. He just wants to survive.
He just wants to drink, eat, and fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's a hedon. Hedon.
Well, but the stuff that he does to have that freedom is actually kind of altruistic.
It's helping people.
Yeah.
Right. And and it turns out he's probably pretty good at it when he's sober.
Right.
Yeah.
But he will tie one on Saturday.
He sure will.
And
he doesn't stop. It gets tied on, and he keeps the knot.
Right.
It's never untied.
Right. But he's pretty untied when we see him last.
Yes, he is.
Because he puts him on the train and sends him back to Mumba or whatever. Tanumba.
Yeah.
Tanumba.
Back to his job.
Back to his job, to which he's now accepted that I'm going to play this out.
Right.
I kind of can't escape. I put myself in this situation. I got to play it out. And
I think there's a little acceptance to what his life is, not just I have to play this out. Like,
but he'll finish.
There's a newfound contentment.
But he'll finish what is demanded of him, but maybe he'll eventually end up someplace else as a teacher or whatever.
Well, it doesn't matter what happens 10 years down the road, but now he is contented a little bit.
Yes. He's no longer in anguish about his lot in life.
Yeah.
There's some acceptance.
It's like if those people can make something out of their existence, then I guess I can too.
And they can be happy.
Right.
That's the thing, right?
Could be.
He was unhappy because he didn't feel like he was doing what he should be doing, but he didn't really even know what he wanted to do.
Right.
The only plan he had to be happy was to be in England. That's not a plan.
No.
Right.
He didn't even want to teach. What was he going to do with his life?
Right. He even said, well, this is what my education allows me to do.
Right.
Is teach. So guess what, guy? You're a teacher.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, make peace with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it is kind of interesting because I think that there is something kind of similar with how they handle education in England. I think it's, you work your way towards a position or a degree. If it's a teacher, you go and you work as a teacher, and based on the salary that you're supposed to get as a teacher, that's how you pay back your education.
Yeah.
In
Right.
small bits.
Exactly right. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what he's doing, except for he looks at it as my debt is my chains,
Right.
not I wanted to do this.
He was educated in exchange for them putting him in a shitty place to teach because that's the necessity. That's what they need.
Right. Now, that's a slightly different thing than the British model, but it's the same kind of what he's paying off is basically the same thing. It's just they have a little bit more control in this situation.
Yeah. I mean, it's not all that unlike even doctor placement in the United States. Like,
Sure.
there's systems for that where, you do residencies in particular areas, and in exchange, you can only have a little bit of say in where you get sent.
Right.
Right.
And it's probably going to be rough places
Yeah. Some
or
of them
rough
are.
situations.
Well, there's a whole TV show about it. Was it Northern Exposure? About that?
Yeah.
Okay, fair. Yeah,
But,
you ain't going to Chicago Hope or whatever. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
No,
but yeah, he asks him. That's the thing, right? The snarky guy who runs the bar, like the only really place in town where the schoolhouse is,
Bar,
asks
hotel, everything.
train
asks him
tracks.
Ask him how his vacation was, his holiday, and he says it was great,
The best.
or the best. Thank you. Yes, it was the best.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways to read that.
Say it.
You did know
knew
he was going to say it.
Yeah.
And you could read that in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
He's just being sarcastic, but honestly, maybe he grew up.
I think the
He
latter.
learned some things.
I think the
latter as well.
Yeah. Well, it's always good to think the best of people.
The best.
Around.
So I think we did all right with that.
Yeah. A couple of little things I do want to point out. There's the really funny line where he meets the really nice guy in the bar. They play snooker, and you see it coming. You see it coming when he's pulling back the pool cue. There's a guy right behind him, and he pokes him in the butt. And the guy's like, "Hey," and he's like, "Don't worry, I was just checking the oil." And like they just lose it,
Yeah.
and they're having a good time, right? But so there's like endearing things like that. The one thing is you don't know how long this movie takes place.
6 weeks.
Well, I mean, all we know at one point was he had a 6-week vacation, which whatever. But then he arrived. He arrived on Friday in the Yaba. He was supposed to leave Saturday. He didn't. He shows back up in town, and he goes into the pub where he left his bags before he went over to the nice guy's place that he played the game with. And they're like, I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I left it here yesterday." I was like, "No, you left it here on Saturday. We have no idea how many days. It's been at least 6 days.
It's been several days.
Yeah, so it's like there's a whole missing time element too, where
he slept at Doc's place at least twice.
Yeah,
and
he's it's almost like he's on such a bender.
I think
that he doesn't even know what day it is.
I think he's gone the full 6 weeks.
Well, he is probably gone the full 6 weeks because we don't know how long he's in the hospital.
That
right
too,
because when he comes out, he's got all of his hair.
Yeah. He's been in the hospital for a little while.
True.
For a little while, convalescing.
Yeah. Do they have national health care over there?
I don't know. I would assume so.
I would hope, because that's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
Being there for 5 weeks.
Yeah, I would expect so. Yeah.
Well, shit, there was days, conceivably, he slept days in the desert.
Right. Yeah. At least one night in the desert. Yeah.
And then one night in the truck, not knowing which direction he was going.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like 6 days. He's gone. Yeah. Anyway. And they just left his bag there in the middle of the bar floor. It's like, oh, I don't know. It might be a bomb in there. Don't touch it.
Those people just go about their lives.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. I like that. I think I like that movie.
Yeah, it's a fine enough movie. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
I think we did a pretty good job with it.
I think we did a great job of it.
We're
We're going to have a little more fun the rest of the month.
Yeah.
What is our next one?
Thirst is next.
Oh, the one I've definitely seen that I quite like.
I love this movie.
This is a great flick. And this was,
I brought this to Jason.
You did.
And then we brought it to you.
And this is a movie that is kind of a well-known classic in Australia as well. Like, this is a movie that was pretty popular in Australia.
I love the concept of the society that exists that is corporate.
Oh yeah,
it's fucking great.
It's a very
I've done a Monster Mondays on it, but way
it's
back
a very
in the beginning.
different kind of vampire film, and we will talk all about it next week.
Yeah,
show.
Love it. Anyway, that's Wednesday at filmseizure.com. Just go there. You'll find all the places to follow us. This upcoming Monday on my Monster Monday show is Sinister. I quite like that movie.
Which one? The sort of newer one? Yeah, it's a good
Ethan
movie.
Hawke.
That's a good one.
Yeah. In fact, it makes me not ever want to move into a house that may have history and a box of film upstairs.
Yeah, don't watch it.
Mm-mm.
It's super creepy.
Yeah, super creepy stuff. So that is on Monday afternoon. Check out what I have to say about that. This upcoming Friday at my own website, bmovieenema.com, is the movie Night Wish, which is interesting. I write these articles well in advance. I think it's recently been released by Riff Tracks too. So
nice.
Just know if they make the same jokes I do, it was an accident. I mean, they take notes from me all the time.
Yeah.
So Anyway, so but Night Wish, weird little sort of supernatural, sort of not movie, science fiction a little bit. But anyway, you can check that out at bmovieenema.com. But yeah, all of our stuff at filmseizure.com. Follow us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Mastodon, all that good stuff. So next week, we hop to the eastern seaboard of Australia to quench our thirst.
Got him.
Until then, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Jack Moore.
And I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.
Right.